First, thanks for taking the time to speak with Real Film News. I guess I'll start first. Could you tell me about how the idea for Voodoo came together?
I was in real estate really heavily, and then in the crash time, we really had nothing else going on, and we had all moved here to LA to just do movies and stuff like that. That's why you move here. And the time at that time, we still hadn't done it, which was around 2009-ish, somewhere in there. And a friend of mine was from Nigeria, and he knew a lot of people there that were in Nollywood, which is the Nigerian film market. At the time, I think it was even bigger than Bollywood, or it was really close. It was either number one or number two content provider in the world. And I think that still holds true to this day. But so originally, Voodoo was supposed to be an African picture for Nollywood. And then as the economy got better and money started coming in, there's a huge direct correlation between real estate doing well and movies. You know, if real estate's doing well and the economy is doing well, the more movies can be made. When the economy is in a bad time, movies are just going to be superheroes and stuff like that, and prequels and sequels, things like that. So we ended up bringing the story from Nollywood to America. So instead of the girl, the lead being from Nigeria, we ended up doing it from New Orleans. And that's kind of like how it all just started.
Gotcha. So, can you tell me about that opening, man? Because that's quite an opening that you have in that film. Was that always the intention when for that opening, or was it something that kind of evolved to what you eventually had?
It did kind of evolve. We were originally going to do that. That was in the initial script. But then after, doing like production and budget costs and stuff like that, we thought we can get away without it. And especially because of the way that Hell was designed and written, in the movie world, it's a page a minute to the script to screen.
Sure.
But because all of Hell is just basically like this tour kind of thing, we didn't know like how long it was going to take. We didn't know if the page per minute rule was going to apply to just full-on paragraphs of script dialogue or writing parenthetical as opposed to dialogue. And then when we had actually finished, amazingly enough, it still was a page a minute. It worked out exactly the way it always did anyway. And that's when we just decided to go back and get it done. Because the script was only about 70 pages. So we didn't want to make it too long. With these things, you got to be between like 80 and 90 minutes. If it's over 90 minutes, your chance of getting distribution gets slimmer, especially for a picture like this. And then under 80 minutes, you're not necessarily even a feature. So it was a really delicate balance as to what we were going to do.
Gotcha. And in that same regard, just based on the nature of that opening, was there any concern on your part on? I mean, and it's still a horror film, but still with the nature of how that opening is. Was there any concern that there would be like any pushback on how it plays out and what happens there?
I mean, sure. But the whole picture in the end, we had that worry. Are we going to get MPAA approval? Are we going to be able to get distribution at all with what's going on here? It was all a delicate balance, man. Like from writing the script and saying, what can I do here? I had written stuff that I had to take completely out. It was completely omitted 100%. Because if I would have done what I really wanted to do in the beginning, there was no way we were going to get distribution. So I had to just try to figure out a way where I could, convey the same sensibilities and the same type of story and the same type of action, but make it really mild and calm down. And then actually when we were doing the trailer and stuff like that, Facebook actually banned the trailer. YouTube banned the trailer originally. And I think that the mother shot was actually one of the reasons why. So in the very beginning, one of the shots is the dead mother laying on the playground with the blood on her and the little girl being taken by the hand. That shot alone prevented us from being able to distribute the trailer without appeals. It took us at least 10 days, 20 days maybe, to get everyone to appeal that decision. And the MPAA approving the trailer was the only thing that made that happen, in my opinion. So in the beginning, we were like, look, it's an MPAA trailer. How can you go against the MPAA if the MPAA says it's okay to see this?
Right.
Why are you not letting people see this? And you're like, no, it's our guideline. We don't like to portray anything negative on Facebook and YouTube or whoever it was, Google Ads. And in the end, thank God it all came back. Because right now, I think on Facebook, on the trailer, We got 4 million hits. So 4.2 million people have seen it, and there's 2.1 million views. So like those are really high numbers. I mean, we're only in like 2 to 3 weeks of release or something like that.
Right.
So, and if they wouldn't have let that happen, if they wouldn't have put it back on the site, we would have lost 100% of the fan base that we have right now at all.
Wow. And I would say on a similar note with the cast that you have, can you talk about how you got the cast that you had? Because obviously they were pretty game based on the things that that happened in this film. You have some pretty game cast members. So can you talk about how you found them?
Yeah, I mean, originally I wanted a girl from New Orleans, a real girl from New Orleans, and I had found this actress from New Orleans. She had a great face. Her acting was really good. She was a nudist, so she had no problem with what happened to the character in the story. But then after she came here and auditioned, it just didn't work out. Like she wasn't strong enough at all. And originally, both Sam and Ruth, Samantha Stewart and Ruth Reynolds, were both auditioning for the role of Stacy. And then as we interviewed, I don't even know, 472 girls or something like that, I think it was, those two just stood out 100%. And we only called back about 10 girls, but even when we called back to 10, we knew that Sam and Ruth were probably going to get it. We just wanted to be sure. And then when they were reading to each other, that was when I made the decision to not cast the girl from New Orleans and cast Sam as Danny and Ruth as Stacy. And then when that happened, it just, I told them what happened in the script, like right then and there. I was just completely transparent with them, and I just sat them down. I'm like, look, here's the deal. You guys are auditioning. The sides that we had given them were only like the beginning, like where they're walking through the house and stuff like that, just so we could just see like how they interact and how natural they are together.
Yeah.
And so when they went in an audition, they had no idea what this movie was about at all. So there was also that part too, like we're going to sit you guys down and we're going to tell you what happens, and then we really want you to go home and think about it because I don't want you guys to say yes, and then in a couple months from now when we're on set, you guys look at me and say, I'm not doing this, I'm sorry, I'm not doing this, I'm done. That was something that could not happen, would not happen, just tell me the truth right now. And they both were both completely on board, and they stuck to their guns, especially Sam. I give Sam all the credit in the world, man. She said yes months before everything happened, and she did everything she said she was going to do.
Wow. All right. So, you have this film. What do you already have a couple of films that you still have in development that are still gestating, or are you still working on I know you were talking about the distribution with this film.
Well, yeah, Voodoo is just still very new. It's only been, I think today is 3 weeks actually from the release date.
Right.
And with these, you kind of take it like 45 days. It's usually like the marketing time you have. So this will be going until probably like sometime in like beginning of April.
Okay.
And then we do have a couple of the projects. We have a project called SEER. It stands for Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape. It's an acronym used in the military. It's a training program it teaches a military person how to survive an alien enemy territory. And with this story in particular, it takes it into an outer space alien story. So there's an NSA operative, he's like a James Bond type of character, and he defects when he learns that there's a correlation in the theories of ufology and stuff between the government and working with aliens is true. And it becomes a fast-paced, like Indiana Jones meets Close Encounters kind of thing. Excuse me. And then there's another picture we have called Little Diddy. We're working on that in earnest. That probably is looking like it's going to be the next picture that we slate. That's kind of like a Dazed and Confused meets The Shining. It's like a couple kids in the 70s. They're like a young couple in love and stuff, and the good kid goes bad. It's a really interesting twist. And then there's the one about a gangster named Mad Sam Destefano from Chicago, who I don't know if you ever heard about this guy, but this guy was completely psychotic in like every way. This guy, like, he killed his brother. His older brother ended up killing him. He worshipped Satan. He was a torturer, murderer for the mob. And I'm talking about the mob when the mob was the mob, like in the 60s. So, like, this guy, he played a part in the whole thing about going to Vegas and killing JFK and killing Marilyn Monroe. And,
wow.
There's a lot that's surrounded by it. And actually, this guy, Frank Collada, who wrote Casino with Nick Pileggi and Martin Scorsese. Frank Collada was the real gangster behind that story. Frank Vincent played his character in the movie, and he's one of the only people still alive that knew this guy. And Frank's been helping me out. He moved back to Vegas, so it's really hard to get a hold of him and work on it in earnest 100%. But over the phone and stuff, we have been working on it. So, with this kind of stuff, you take it as far as you can go, and then when you're ready to ask people for money and they tell you no, then you put it down and you go start something else. So we'll see how they pan out, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So with this film, I know you use the aesthetic that's the found footage type of aesthetic. Well, not found footage, but in that vein. Do you plan on using that same aesthetic with the projects that you have in development, or will it be something that's just unique for Voodoo?
I think it would just be unique for Voodoo. In the end of the day, a lot of people think that you do found footage style because it's cheaper and easier and stuff like that, and it's really not. It's actually harder,
Right.
especially in this picture in particular because we were doing a lot of one-take shots and stuff,
And effects.
Yeah, I mean, especially like Hell. When we got to Hell, there's a ton. We probably shot for 2.5, 3 minutes at one time without cutting camera at all. There's some shots like that in there.
Yeah.
When you're doing the found footage thing, just to pull focus alone on that is almost impossible. So it's really difficult. And so we kind of use it as a tool because it fit the story, opposed to being like that big of a fan of a genre where I would want to do every picture like that. So I might do it again, but right now there's no plans, no.
Gotcha. Well, Tom, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and I look forward to checking out your upcoming projects.
Likewise, buddy. Thank you so much for having me on, man. I'm honored.